Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel Code for Tech Solutions. Today in this video we are going to cover one more interesting topic, and our today's topic is building a Flask RESTful CRUD API with Python. So this is a complete guide in which we are going to cover everything from setting up our Flask app to handling our HTTP methods like create, read, update and delete, and finally we will test our RESTful APIs through Postman and verify the response and data on the browser side as well as on the database side. And as a database we are going to use SQLite. Our backend application using Flask. So we can open the command prompt, and from here we can use the command code space dot to open the Visual Studio Code editor. And this is our VS Code instance. Now we can click on new terminal. It will open a new terminal. Now here first thing, like, we can create one project folder using command mkdir, and here we can use SQLite -crud as a project name, folder name we can give, and here we can go to our project folder. Next we need to set up our environment. For that first we can create our virtual environment. For that we can use this command python -m, and we can use virtual environment command, and we can give our virtual environment name. Now we can see it has created a project folder with subfolders like include, lib and script. What all libraries we install, that will go inside this lib folder. Now once the virtual environment is created, we need to activate that. Now here we first need to go to our virtual environment folder, next scripts, and inside that we can use the activate command. Now we can see the virtual environment prompt is appearing. That means it has successfully activated. Now next thing, like, we need to install the dependencies. For that we can use this pip command, pip install. First we can use Flask, next we can use Flask like RESTful, next we can use Flask, and here we can use SQL Alchemy. So this command will install all these required libraries. Now the question is, like, what is a Flask? Flask is a simple and flexible framework for building web applications with Python. Now next, like, what is a Flask RESTful? Like, this library, this is an extension on library for Flask, which is the best for building REST APIs quickly and efficiently. It also provides a lot of functionalities like routing, request passing, and automatic response formatting, and there are many other functions just to ease our API development. And Flask SQL Alchemy, it's again an extension that provides tools and methods to interact with our databases. This is about all the dependencies and the purpose of each one. Now we can see it has installed successfully, or we can use the pip command to check what all things are installed. Now we can see the Flask is there and all these libraries are in place. Now next thing, let us create our application file, app.python file. Now inside that we can first import our dependencies and initialize a Flask. For that we can use this Flask, and we can import Flask from this request, and we have JSONify. Next we can import from Flask RESTful, and we can import API and resource. Next we can import Flask like SQL Alchemy, and we can import SQL Alchemy. Now we can add this, because we have already installed these packages. Still it is showing the error, so we can fix it. just by ignoring these errors. Now next thing, like we need to initialize our Flask app. So for that we can use, here we can say it's an initialize, and we can initialize our Flask app using this, and here we can use this Flask, and here we can add name. Next thing, like here we can use this API, and we can add this API. So with this, like we have initialized our Flask app and API. Fine. So here we need to add app, just to initialize with this is the API. So this is the application we are initializing, and this is the API for this application. Now next we need to configure our database setting, or we can say specifically SQLite we are going to configure. Now we can use app.config, and here we can use SQL alchemy and underscore database. We can say it's underscore database underscore URL, and for this we can use inside single quote we can use SQLite, and here we can give our database name, like let's say this is for users, like we can say it's user.db. Now next thing, like we can config, let me copy this line and we can paste it, and here we can use SQLite and track modifications, and here we can say false, and finally we can use like db, and for that we can use SQLite SQL alchemy, and here we can add our app. Now we are done with our configuration of our initializing of the Flask and APIs and configuring the SQLite database. Next thing, like we need to create a model. For that, here we can add like create model, and here we can create one class for that, like let's say it's a user, and here we can use db dot model. We can first add id, and for that we can use db dot, we can use the column, and here we can use db dot integer, we can say primary key as a true. So this is for id. Similar way we can create for name, and here we can say it's a string, and we can add some string length, and it's not primary key, so we can remove this. Rather we can say nullable as a false. Similar way we can add one email, which is again same, and here for email we need to add one more thing, like it should be unique as a true. Now let us add one more thing, like here we can add some role, and here seems good. Now this is fine. So we have created all the we have created user model, and these are some properties which we are going to use, like id, name, email, and role. Next, like we can create one toDict method which is like to so this toDict method we can use like to just convert our database model instance into the Python dictionary. We can use this. Now here we can use return, and what we are going to return, like we can use this id, and after that we can use self.id. Next, for name we can use self.name. Like next, it's an email. Next, role we can use self.role. So that's it, we have covered all the fields. Now the purpose of this toDict is to convert our database model instance into the Python dictionary, okay? And we can save it. Now we have successfully created a model. Now what next we can do, we need to create a database. So for that, here what we can do, now let's say create a database. For this we are going to use this with app dot, we can use app contest. This is the one time we need to create, and here we can say it's a create underscore all we can use. Basically this will create our database and will run only once. Next thing, like we need to implement our CRUD operations or APIs. Now let us define the endpoints. First we can create our create user method. So for that we can create one class, like it's a create user, and we can use resource, and here we can define our post method. For that we can use this self object, and here we first need to prepare the data, and we need to take it from the request, and we can say get JSON. Next thing, we can define one constant for holding the new user data, and here we can say it's a user we are going to create with name as an data dot name, like data. Similar way we can copy this part, and we need to repeat for email, like this is for email, and we can say it's a email. This is for role, and this is for role, and this is the extra entry, we can remove this. Now next thing, like we need to add it to the database session, so we can do like db.session.add, and we are going to add this new user. Next thing, like we can create db.session, and here we need to commit this, and that's it. Finally we need to prepare some response message, and here we can say user created successfully, and it's a new user, so we can say new user created successfully. After that we can use next we need to mention like what user we have created, and for that we can mention like it's a new user dot, we can use this to dict method. That's it. And after this we can add the status code, which is a 201 for created new user creation, and we can save it. This is about a new user creation. Similar way, let us create one more method just to get users. So let us copy this code and see how much we can reuse. Now here we can create like it's a get users method taking the resource, and here we can use get http method, and for that here we need to prepare like users, and for that we can use, now let me delete all this. Here to prepare the users we can use our user model, and here we can use query and we can say all. Now we have users data. Now we just need to return this using JSONify, and here like we are going to use user dot use user dot to dict method, and here for user in users. That's it. So we are what we are going to do, like inside users we have Python dictionaries. Now we are taking each user from this users list and we are converting it to our JSON in JSON format with this line, so that it will show the response in a JSON format. Okay, so this is about get users, we are done with. Now next thing, like we similar way we can add one more method just to return, like we can add get user based on the ID, and here we can say get, and similar way we can add here like user ID or whatever ID, and here we can query the user. Instead of all we can get, and here we need to pass the particular user ID, and we will get a single user which we need to return. Like for this we can use if there is a user, in that case we are going to return the user, like user dot, we can use this to dictionary method, and here we need to add the status which is 200 for success, and in case of user is not existed we need to prepare some message like here we can say user not found, and here we can add some user not found code which is 404. So this is for getting a particular user. Now similar way we can add one more method like to update the user. You can copy this. Now here we can use like update user, and the resource here we are going to use put http method, and same here we are going to get the user for this given user ID, and if the user is valid, in that case first we need to take the data from the request, and we can use request dot get underscore JSON. We have the data like modified data. Now we can set user dot name as data dot get, and here we can use name, and we are going to take it from the username. Now we are going to set the username. This is the modified data we need to set to the user. Okay, so this is for name. Similar way we need to set for email and role. This is the email and this is the role. That's it. So this is about how we have set the modified data to our user object, existing user object. Now we need to save into the database. So for that, let me remove this part first. And to save this data, we can use this db.session, and inside after that we can use commit method, so that it will commit our data. Finally, we are going to return the response, like we can say set some message. Let me copy some message, and here we can return the message like user updated successfully, and here we can set user dot direct, and here for update user we can set 200 status. So we have successfully set the message. In case the user is not there for the given ID, we can set the message like user not found, and we can save it. Seems good. Now we are done with our update method. Similar way we need to create one delete method. So we can copy this much part, and here we can change it to delete user. Let's say it's a delete user, and here once we receive the user for the given ID, if user is existed, in that case we are going to simply delete it from the database. We can call the session, and here we can call delete method on that, and we can pass this user. After that, we need to commit the session by calling this commit method. Next, we are going to return some success message for deleting. So we can return it like we can say user deleted successfully, and here we can simply use this 200 message for successfully deletion. In case the user is not found for the given ID, we can simply return the message like user not found. We can save it. Now we are done with all our CRUD APIs implementation. Now last thing we need to do, like here we need to run the application. So we need to register API endpoints. So here we can use like register APIs. For that we can use API dot add resource, and here we can use this create user, and for that we can define the endpoint which is like users. So this is for create users. Similar way we need to add for rest of the classes, like this is for get users, and here we can use like all, and we can add one more for specifically getting a particular user. For that we can use, we need to add it here, we need to add a primary key, so we can use int, and we can add user underscore id for this. So this is our primary key we need to pass to get our particular user. So this is the get user, and after that let us copy this part, and we can add for update user. So this is update user, and for this again we can write the id users and id, and finally we can add the delete method API endpoints we can say delete user. So that's it about the API endpoints we have registered successfully. Finally, we can run our application, like we can say run application, and here we can set like if name can say name is equal to, you can say main, we can use app.run, and here we can use debug as a true. So with debug as a true, so when we run our Flask application with debug as a true, it enables the Flask debug mode, which provides useful features for development such as auto reloading, like the server restarts automatically when we modify the code, and it will also show the detailed error messages in browser. So this is about the debug method, which we have made it as a true. We can save it. We are done with all our coding. Now we need to test our application by running our Python application. So let us run our Python application using command like make sure you have saved all the code, and here we can use python app.py to run our application. Okay, so there is some spelling mistake, so let us check this is the now there was the extra bracket we have just removed. Now we can rerun it. Now we can see our application is running on this URL. This is the host and port. Now here we can use our what URL we have configured. Now let us go to our URL registration. So this is users we can use for creating a user, and to check all users we can use the command like. So let us open the Postman so that we can see. Now this is our postman. Let us copy this URL, and here we can check for get method and users slash all. This is the get method, and here it is showing the empty array because we do not have any data as of now. So let us add one entry. So let us use, we can copy this URL as is, and here next thing we can use the post method because we are going to create our new user, and to create a new user we can use users. So let us check the endpoint which is users for creating a user. Now here we need to select the body, and here we can choose the JSON, and here HTTP method we can use post. Now inside that we can select like it's a name, and what is the name, like let's say it's Ravi, and here we can add email, and for email we can say it's a robin@gmail.com. Next thing we can mention like a role. For role we can set role as an just a user, and we can click on send button. Now we can see the new user is successfully created, and this is the message, and this is the user we have just created. Similar way, let us create one more record, like let's say we can add one record Kiran, and here we can set the email, and we can say it's a admin. Now we can see we have created one more record. Now let us create one more record for some different role, like let's say John, and John with manager role. Now we have three records with different roles. Now we have created three records. Now let us check by calling the get method. Seems good. It is showing all those three records. Now let's say if you want to delete any record, now we can simply go to so to update any record, if you want to fetch any record, like let's say if you want to update the third record, we can simply enter the ID and it will fetch the third record. Now to modify this third record, let's say the ID here we can simply, instead of John we can use Kevin, and here we can modify it, and instead of manager we can say it's a user, and we can update. Seems good. The record is successfully updated. Not it, like here we need to use the particular get method, like put method, to update the record. Either we can use put or patch method. We have not said that HTTP method, hence it has not updated. Now let us see what will happen. Seems good. It has successfully updated. This is the successful message, and this is the record which with updated entries. Okay, fine. Next we can see by calling the last one, like delete method we can try, and we just need to pass the ID which is enough to delete the record. Let us see. We can see, so here this is the delete method, and to delete method we are passing the user ID. Okay, so let us check by calling the get method. So we have 1 2 3 records as an ID. Now we can check, like for delete method we need to use HTTP delete method instead of put. Now let us check how it works. Now it should work. Now here we want to delete the third record. Okay, let us check if the server is restarted. It is still loading. We need to save it. Yes. Now let us check. Now let us restart the application and we can use this. Okay. Now here if we call this all users method, it is showing all the users. Now we are going to pass use the delete HTTP method, and this is the third ID we are going to pass. Now you can see user is successfully deleted. Now let us cross check the data again. It should show the 2 records. Yes, it is showing, which is as expected. So we are done with our REST APIs. We have seen all the CRUD APIs working fine. Now one more thing, last thing, like let us open our database so we can use SQLite online platform through which we can open our database. So here we can click on this plus button and open the DB. Now here we need to use give the proper our project path. Let's say CRUD SQLite, and here is our instance, and we can point to this instance. Now here this is our user table with all the columns, and here we can select the add the select query, and it will show all the records which is present inside the SQLite database. This is about all the CRUD operations with REST API using Flask. So we are done with. I hope you must have enjoyed. Please do not forget to like, subscribe and share. Thank you so much for watching.